What's up? It's Mike, and I got some bad news, guys. My copy of Batman Brave and the Bold, the video game, recently went missing. And in completely unrelated news, I also have nothing else to eat tonight. I guess I gotta go to Target. They always have something good to eat. I blacked out for a second.
Video games are pretty cool, take it from me.
Maybe not this one.
But they can also be pretty expensive. If you think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for $60 is bad, just wait till you hear about Shaq Fu. Video games take a ton of time to make, from actual development, to marketing, to distributing, to paying the team working on them, and a billion other factors that these game studios have to consider. That's also not including updates after the actual launch of the game, or the development of DLC. Luckily, Shaq Fu didn't have to worry about either of those. Most quality and or recently released video games have similar price points, around the $60 mark or the $70 mark if they're feeling frisky. This certainly isn't the case for every game, with some of them eventually ending up in clearance bins.
Most other people also like to refer to it as the trash can.
But what results in a game suffering this horrific fate?
Well, not having NBA Live 19 as your name is a good start.
If one of your parents is named EA Sports, run. Most clearance bins end up getting filled by various EA Sports games, whether you're playing football or you're playing football. These sports series end up getting almost yearly releases, with each one just basically featuring updated rosters from the previous game and nothing else. This leads to most people asking, why would I buy the old game with the old rosters when I can buy a brand new, more expensive game that's exactly the same but with some people moved around?
That's like buying a 10-year-old game for almost $60. Who would do that, am I right?
What I'm getting at is when FIFA 22 hits store shelves, the value for FIFA 18 doesn't exactly go up. So sports games are the usual culprit of enjoying the bargain bin life, but what about the other types of games that end up getting these cool looking stickers? There's the bad movie tie-in and licensed games that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy, and the games that just literally don't work anymore. But other games in clearance bins end up that way due to them being older games that are still fairly common, such as this copy of God of War I found for $10. There's a small chance you can actually find some good stuff in these clearance bins.
Ew, I hate shovelware.
But what kind of games do we have from the clearance bin today? Well, I already don't have a ton of faith because I didn't even find these games in a big plastic can. I found them next to the bedding, and just off first glance, a new mattress probably would have been more useful. Usually I like to look into the history of the games I talk about so I can talk about all the funny sales numbers and about how Sonic had a rocky transition into 3D.
This time I thought it would be more fun if I went into the games completely blind, so let's start off with probably the worst one.
I want to start this off by saying I have zero experience when it comes to EA Sports games, with most of that experience coming from the passing time I played Madden at a friend's house. Now, with that said, I already have some issues before I've even opened the case. Since the dawn of time, information about the features and modes a video game has to offer can be found on the back of the box. Minus EA Sports, they just give you a middle finger. Opening up the case and the disc isn't even in the holder, which is a fantastic sign. And wait a second, is this a little leaflet with the controls on it? So you're telling me that you can't put all the features of your game on the back of the box, but you can mass produce this tiny useless piece of paper that has the controls on it when the controls are almost on every screen in the actual game. I also got the 1 edition, whatever that means. Other than this cool little reflective NBA sticker, there's not much else to the box, so let's chuck this bad boy in the PS4 and see what happens.
It didn't work.
Alright, I can't wait to play my brand new video game, and oh, I see it has to copy some data from off the disk, but that's fine, PS4 games do that. And it has to download some updates too, got it. Let me check to see how those are going, and wait a second. Why are the updates bigger than the actual game?
I can't figure out why.
Not the best signs, but then again, NBA Live 19 still has plenty of chances to save my opinion of it. So let's finally get into the game and, you doing okay, buddy? You're looking a little squished.
I can't be the only one who sees it.
After that, the game asks me what my favorite team is.
Where's Team Rocket?
After some lovely updates that redirect you to Reddit to see the patch notes,
that's definitely a new one.
They ask me to join the NBA cult or whatever, and then ask for a scan of my face.
God, I would hate to play a video game right about now.
There's an opening cutscene that sets up a story, I think. And then we get a little NBA history lesson featuring Shaq himself.
He looks better in Shaq Fu.
We also get to play a quick little tutorial game, and the gameplay is fine. Again, I've never touched an EA Sports game before, but the buttons work, and that's about all I can say about it. After mastering the controls I've only seen about 17 to 18 times, we get to create our character, and I think I finally figured out what the One Edition meant. And it means, by default, your character's name is just the One.
You expect me to change perfection?
I also ended up making my character as short as possible, just for fun. Unfortunately, that's about where the fun stops. We get thrown into a menu that I just frankly don't like, and it doesn't help that you have to go through 3 different menus at minimum anytime you want to do anything. I decided to start simple and start with what I assume to be the quote-unquote campaign of the game, called The Rise. 16 more menus later, and I'm finally in my first actual game, where I proceed to just attempt 3-pointers for the entire thing. After the longest 6 minutes of my life, I win the game, and with that, I get a new skill token. Oh, is this like an RPG or something where I can get cool abilities for my character? You just get shoes. Yeah, that's it, you just get shoes. Also, starting to the next stage of The Rise was just completely locked off for some reason, so I just decided to look at what the other modes had on offer. First up is court battles.
If I wanted to play Phoenix right, I would.
Here you protect your home court while trying to take over other people's court. So I start searching for other players to conquer, and that's interesting. No one's showing up in the list. It's fine, it could just be a bug, so let's refresh it and try again. And still nothing.
Okay, so one of 2 things could be happening here. Either A, I'm doing something wrong, or B, it just means no one's playing this game.
So far the game is 0 for 2 on modes that actually work, so let's see if Live Run helps out at all.
They say that I've been in my head and out of the state, but I bring the whole world with me.
Now we're 0-3, and spoiler alert, that goes straight to 0-4 with live events too.
Usually I'd buy PS Plus so I could experience these modes, but at the same time, it kind of defeats the entire purpose of buying a clearance game on the cheap when I have to spend $60 on a service just so I could play half of it.
Well, let's see if Streets World Tour can bring the working mode counter up to 1. Wait, I need to beat the Rise to play this game mode? But how am I supposed to beat the Rise if the next match is locked off for no discernible reason?
Okay, I give up. NBA Live 19 is a horrible experience from opening the box to playing the actual game just to figure out that 0 out of the 5 main game modes work.
With all that said, I really don't think Infamous Second Son could be worse.
I would hope so. With as many best of shows as this game got, if I got as many, people still wouldn't give a shit.
It's also considered a PlayStation hit, putting it in the same category as a little known game that you guys may have heard of. Oh, it's just called The Last of Us.
So no pressure.
Infamous is a series that I've known of, but I've never actually dipped my toes into. Guess there's no better time to see if I've missed out or not, and while I wouldn't necessarily say I have after playing this one, that doesn't mean this game is awful or anything, far from it. Right off the bat, this game actually does a really good job setting up the world and the characters you interact with, and actually hooked me in really quickly. In this world, superheroes or people with special skills are seen as a threat and are labeled as bioterrorists. And as a guy with an Avengers Endgame poster on his wall right next to a Footloose one, I can say this story is quite refreshing. This introduction does something else I've actually never experienced before, and that's actually using the PS4 controller's features.
Granted, my PS4 collection isn't exactly large.
There's this little section where you have to create this spray paint art by turning the controller on its side and using the gyro controls to aim. Does it feel a little shoehorned in? Absolutely, but it's neat to see the developers stride. One usage of a feature I actually found neat was the occasional time that you have to actually swipe on the little touchpad that's on the DualShock 4 controller. Every PS4 game that I've played so far has only ever used the touchpad as an extra button of sorts to pull up a map or whatever, but actually swiping on it to do stuff is kinda cool. After we get introduced to our new powers and our big baddie, we get thrown into a war-torn Seattle. And this is where the game unfortunately starts to take a bit of a turn for me. Believe it or not, my biggest secret wasn't that I think Super Mario Galaxy is better than Super Mario Galaxy 2, but my biggest secret is actually that I kind of don't like open world games.
All open world games just feel the exact same to me, and I'm not really a huge fan of them. So much to the point where even though most of them aren't even open world games, I haven't even managed to bring myself to beat a Zelda game yet. Fuck, I knew that would happen.
Now, with that fact widely known and all my credibility lost, I still had a bit of fun with Second Son. The combat is simple but satisfying, the game looks really good for an early PS4 game, the different superpowers you get feel unique and fun to use, and it makes traversing the map feel a lot better. But all of that comes with the tiniest little asterisk, that being the frame rate is complete ass.
And being entirely ass is impressive.
The frame rate while going around the city is fine, even hitting really smooth at some points, but once things started to actually happen on screen, it would go all over the place, to the point where it made some encounters genuinely hard to play through. I was about to call this game killing until I looked into the settings and found out that for some ungodly reason, the default for the frame rate was set to unlimited?
The game developers had to have some massive balls to do that. They could also just be stupid.
After setting the game to a 30 FPS lock, it made the game feel infinitely better. And while the frame rate still tanks during intense moments and fights, it's much less noticeable when the frame rate isn't going completely willy-nilly. Other than that, this is a pretty standard open world game with some cool superpowers and a neat story, and for the price I got it for, I'd definitely say it's worth it.
And I'm still stuck in gaming opinion jail. I guess I can't give my opinion on any more video games until I finally beat a Zelda one. And I know they're serious about keeping me in here, because I tried this, and it didn't work.